In this video, I wanted to give my take on this topic that continues to make a lot of people very worried. And I'm talking about this newish technology that is threatening almost every creative field, whether it's in writing or in the visual arts, or in our case, in music. We have this new technology, these companies, Suno and Udio, and we have this new ability to create music without using musicians. And this new possibility to get a complete piece of music without having to write it, to compose it, to record, to edit, to do really anything. A complete song within a few seconds just by typing a simple request is making a lot of people to ask, so is this the end of music as a human activity, as a profession? What is the point of us musicians in a world where this technology exists, when there is such a more cost-effective and fast way to create music? And in this video, I wanted to answer those questions and to tell you why I think we can be carefully optimistic about the future. This might even turn out to be a good thing, and what we can do about it as musicians, as a society. So let's dive right into it. But before we do that, let's just listen to one of those gloomy predictions. This is by Rick Beato, which is maybe the most famous music critic and music educator on YouTube, and this is what Rick had to say about the future.
Do you think that one day we'll actually have a #1 AI Billboard song?
Yes, probably 2 years from now. There will be a lot of news stories about it, and people will say, boy, I really like this, and then they'll just create more, and there will be more. I can see a time when, 9 out of the top 10 songs are AI generated. And there's going to be Drake and then Drake AI. There's going to be the Beatles and then the Beatles AI. This is going to be on Apple Music. It's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be everywhere. Jimi Hendrix AI. The Weeknd AI. And people will accept these. As a matter of fact, many of them will like the AI versions better than the original artists. They are going to actually just get rid of the artists. They'll make the money from Drake AI and the Beatles AI and whoever. But they're going to make a bulk of their money, I predict, from fake artists, from AI artists, because people don't care. I'm sorry.
Okay, so assuming this technology is really just going to get bigger and bigger and more widespread, because I understood there are a few essential problems, artistic and legal and environmental even problems. But let's just assume this technology is going to get over all of these obstacles and just continue to get bigger and bigger. In this case, I think Rick actually has a point. A lot of what he's saying makes a lot of sense. So we could have an international hit song, or even all of the 10 songs in the Billboard made by AI, not necessarily because, these are going to be great songs, but also because there's something performative about that. Because when you listen into songs like that, when you dance into songs like that, you feel like you're taking a part in this technological revolution. So there's something very exciting about it. So yeah, definitely I think this could happen very soon. Then we also might have AI versions of existing artists, like the Beatles continuing to make new albums, and maybe in the future we will have completely new AI artists that that have their own image and release their own songs. And I've seen other predictions that we won't even need Apple Music and Spotify. We will just be able to create our own music just by requesting Siri to create a new album for us of like the Beatles with Taylor Swift on vocals and Kurt Cobain on guitars, just, whatever. There are many ways this could develop, but the point is, for a while, this is going to be our new reality. We're going to be surrounded with AI music, but then, and this is the important point, then there will be a backlash. What I mean by that is that at some point, this music, it's going to be so easy to make, and we are going to be so overwhelmed and surrounded with this constant pseudo-musical computerized noise. This is going to be so overwhelming and exaggerated that at some point people are just going to say, enough, I just can't take this anymore. I need something real. I need real musical experience. I need human music. Why am I so sure there will be a backlash? Because there is always a backlash. That's just how history works. Take, for example, the classical period in music with Mozart and Haydn. Music then had very clear sentences and rationality and large, sophisticated structures. And then we had the music of the Romantic era, which put much more emphasis on, on strong emotions and colors and expressive sounds that came at the expense of the control and the restraint that classical period had. Or take another example in the late 80s with this manufactured, glossy and polished pop music, and that gave rise to grunge, which was much more stripped down and authentic and raw. There is always a counter movement, and such a powerful movement of the pendulum towards the non-human as we're experiencing right now will definitely create a very strong counter movement towards the human. That's just how history works. There's going to be new hunger for human music. But what is so great about human music? What's the advantage? Here I think there are two essential things that human music has that AI will never be able to touch. The first one is the issue of live music. If you take a moment and just think about this new technology and its abilities, what does this thing really do? It creates files, right? By a command, it just creates musical files. So these pessimistic predictions that we've seen earlier are all based on a very narrow view of what music actually is. That music is just files, right? You just sit and listen to files. They fail to consider a huge part of the musical experience, which is live music. The AI can create files, but it cannot perform the music. So for example, when you're watching someone playing an acoustic instrument like a piano or a guitar, and they really know what they're doing, so you can really see and feel the strings when they're vibrating, and to watch a human being doing something so extraordinary. The AI can give you the result of this, like a recording of this, but it cannot give you the experience of actually being present in this show. Or when you're attending one of those good jazz performances, when you experiencing musicians create something on spot from the spirit of the moment, to be there at those rare but precious moments where all the players are just get interlocked together, and it's like there's a gate to another dimension. Again, AI can give you a recording, an imitation of this, but every jazz fan will tell you that jazz is at its best when it's happening live. You have to be there. You have to be present at the moment when it's happening. When you think about that, most musicians don't make their money from files, from streaming, right? They make their money through other means. For example, from live performances. So it's a little less threatening when you think about it like that, that all this technology can do is create files. So we have live music, which is a huge part of the musical experience, which AI just can never touch. They are going to try, though. For example, there is this possibility of a hologram show. When you go to a show and you're actually watching holograms on stage, it looks as real as it gets. There are already a few shows like that. You can actually go and see the band ABBA playing live. What you're seeing is a hologram. So they're going to try to take live music away from human musicians. But this leads me to the second point, the second thing that AI can never touch, and this is the issue of it's not real. This new technology can sometimes have impressive results, but it's still not real, in the sense that it can create music that sounds very emotional, but it cannot feel the emotions underneath the music. And that matters because as human beings, we have the need to know that what we are experiencing is real. This is the premise behind movies like The Matrix. Why does Neo take the red pill and never looks back? Because even though the real reality can be even harder than the illusion, he knows that it's real, and it's worth fighting for what's real. Because as human beings, we need to know that what we're experiencing, even if it looks and sounds very real, we need to know there is truth behind it. Music is never just about the music. It's more than just, sounds that go well together. It's about connection, it's about communication, and the need to communicate with other people musically will never go out of style on this planet. When I'm watching a singer-songwriter, it's never just about the sounds, it's about the emotions and the story that is conveyed, to be able to relate to the life experiences behind the song. So in a way, I can take a part in those experiences. I get an invitation to the performer's world. I can get a glimpse into their unique personality with all its imperfection, and I can identify because I'm also imperfect. And this is something you can never get from a hologram show. Even if it looks completely real, you just cannot relate because you know it's not real. I once drove all the way to Virginia to watch Sam Bush, which is a world-class mandolin bluegrass player. It was worth every mile and every penny, but I would not go all the way to Virginia to watch a hologram of Sam Bush. Even if the hologram looks and sounds 100% like him, it's not him. I know it's not him, so I just wouldn't go out of my way to watch. Am I weird? I'm sure many of you are music lovers. I'm sure at some point you went out of your way to watch an artist that you like. Would you still go out of your way to watch a hologram of an artist you like? Tell me in the comments. I'm really curious to know. There is a TED Talk online that demonstrates everything I've said so far just beautifully. It's by Oak Felder in collaboration with Wei Ani from American Idol. I'll put a link down below. Now, in this short talk, Oak Felder is running some kind of an experiment with the audience. He's playing two recordings, one after the other. One is real by Wei Ani, and one is an AI that modeled her voice, so it's not real. And let's see if you can tell the difference. Now, he's playing the two recordings, and it's very hard to tell. It sounds very similar. So he's playing them again, and he's saying, this time, I want you to get up if you think this is the real Weyane. And then the second time, it's the real Weyane appears on stage, and the crowd obviously everyone's standing up and they're just losing it. And his conclusion is that, you see, it doesn't matter that both recordings sounds the same, because think how you felt when you heard the recording versus how you felt when the real singer got up on stage. How did you feel when I told you that we are going to listen to a recording versus how did you feel in the beginning when I told you that the real Weyane is here and is waiting to go up stage? Nobody really cares that you can create a recording that sounds like someone, because that's not the real stuff in music. That's not what matters in music. What matters and what people really want is to be able to relate to someone through music. So live performances and to know that it's real. These are the two weaknesses of this technology. And I predict these are the two things that are going to get bigger and bigger, because people are going to be hungry for this kind of thing. People are going to be hungry for live performances and for music that you can relate to, that feels human, that feels real. This is the counter movement. This is the next trend. Now, in the beginning of this video, I said there's definitely going to be a pushback. What I didn't say, what I cannot predict, is just how strong and meaningful it is going to be. Is it going to be, like grunge, something that appears one day and takes over everything, but ends after a few years? Or maybe just a small niche? Or is it going to be a meaningful, historical, important movement that's going to be a competition, a real competition for the AI technology? Something that will change the way that we experience in art. This depends on us musicians, and I think what we should do is to take an active role in this counter movement. Maybe each one of us should see themselves as a cultural John Connor, lead the struggle of humanity with the machines. The machines are not coming after us physically, for now, I think. But they're coming after our spirits, after our art and creation and the things that makes us human, that makes it worth to live. What I mean is, as musicians at this day and age, we should try and give our audiences the most human experience possible. So live performances that would feel as intimate as possible. I've seen bands releasing those video songs with when they're showing a song and the way that it was created and the work they did on it. So the song feels more like a process rather than just, a final product. And maybe things like recording a band using only one mic like they used to. So the result sounds more like something human, with defects and noises and imperfections, rather than a perfect musical product like everyone is trying to do now. And maybe now is the time to go easy with the autotune. Because the problem with pop music today is not that it's being created by computers yet, but the problem is that even music that's created by humans sounds computerized. It has almost no live instruments. Everything is so precise and exact on grid. The voices, the vocals are almost too clean and precise to be human. And the way that it's written is not based on intention, but it's based on formulas and things that have worked before, which is not so different than the way a computer would write music based on statistical models. Pop music today is not being created by computers, but it might as well be. This is why I said in the beginning that this technological revolution also can have a good side, because all this like trash pop and generic dancing music for clubs and background music and every music which is not about the music, that doesn't have this human extra value, will just lose its appeal. The machines will just produce music like that with an endless amount, and people will just stop caring about this kind of music. But real music, human music, music with intention and human extra values, this kind of music will just get more and more valuable. The way I see it, we might be on the turn of a musical golden age. So yeah, this is my take on this very complicated and charged topic. I would love to hear your thoughts, if you agree, if you disagree, if there are things that I missed, if there are things you want to ask, and I'll see you next time. So see you later.